I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. Are there any speakers related to closed session topics? Seeing none, the board will convene to closed session.
Like butter. Very nice. I'm ready. You got 3 minutes today? So to come up, or is it going to increase? Rob is on here. Oh, there you go. Keep on talking. I remember one time. George sent a penny bus to that boy. 2 hours. How many counts? Yes. I think I was, what I have to do, it's easy.
The board will now convene open session number 4. Closed session live streaming will begin, and the Earl for YouTube live streaming may be found at the NHUSD Board of Education webpage. If you're joining us online via the Zoom webinar and you'd like to provide public comment for this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise your hand option in Zoom, or if you're calling in by phone, just press *9 and wait to be called on. Community members may still provide public comments to the board prior to each meeting via the email at publiccomment@nhusd.k12.ca.us. There were no comments provided in tonight's provided to the board for tonight's meeting via the public comment email address. I would like to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed during public comments. Relative to closed session items 3.1 and 3.4, there was no action taken by the board in closed session. I will now turn the meeting over to Vice President Kumar, who will preside over item 5.
Thank you, President Mishra. Would the audience please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Goodman,
Here.
Khan,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
okay,
Here.
Gonzalez,
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Here.
Before I have a motion and second for tonight's agenda, can I have any volunteers to read the Transgender Day of Visibility Resolution later today? Thank you, Trustee Mallory. May I have a motion and second to approve tonight's agenda? So moved. Second. Okay. Discussion? All right, roll call please.
Goodman,
Aye.
Khan, Howard,
Aye.
okay,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Can I have a volunteer to read the land acknowledgement plan? All right. Trustee Gonzalez.
Okay, we're gonna open up this meeting by acknowledging with respect and love that the land we are on today is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Ohlone Chochenyo First People. We recognize and thank the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land. Indigenous people must not be spoken about in the past context as if they left on their own accord, when the real causes were white supremacy, manifest destiny, and US colonization. By recognizing we stand on the occupied indigenous territory of the Ohlone people, we recommit ourselves to listen to Native leadership and stand in solidarity with people struggling against systems of oppression throughout the world, past and present.
Thank you, Trustee Gonzalez. Back to you, President Michelle.
Okay, we got item 6, public comment, hearing of visitors, topics not on the agenda. Are there any blue cards for topics that are not on the agenda?
We have one.
Okay, please call the first speaker. You will have 2 minutes.
Okay, speaker, estimates.
We live in an age where education is key for a future. Rent becomes as expensive as a mortgage and dreams of poverty ownership by students like me become as real, unrealistic as time travel. With rising competition, any school can aim at preparing its students for the harshness of reality, but lowering standards of our education is not the solution. Not too long ago, several department meetings at Logan, teachers were asked about the routine of decreasing the GPA requirement to the statewide minimum of 1.0, ensuring that the district strongly contemplated removing the standard. So this might make our schools look better on paper. The consequences of lowering that standard are worse overall. The undeniable fact is that our test scores are low. COVID hit and made them even worse. And even students' GPAs dropped. For this year on the last, the requirement was lifted for that reason. But that makes no sense when we are losing the high school standard for people who weren't even in high school. We get a higher graduation rate, but at what cost? The cost is the loss of education, no quality. Students coast to their grades more and lose more motivation to improve their grades. That leads to less student participation in class and even worse test scores. And we lose the very reason why we put higher GPA standards in the first place. We lose credibility, integrity, and dignity. The reason why lowering standard looks good on paper is that we get the higher graduation rate, which is what every school wants. But the way that we would achieve it is almost fraudulent. I ask that the board review this before anything similar to this is officiated and set in stone.
Thank you. Next speaker.
No more blue cards. Do we have any two?
Okay. Moving on to. Sure. Blue card. All right.
Any speakers need to fill out a blue card.
Sure. Is your topic on the agenda or not on the agenda? I'm sorry. Okay, so probably not on the agenda. Okay, so, go ahead, Bobby. If you want, you can just speak now and then just give the form to our EA over here. Can you please state your name for the record? And so that.
Q-U-E-E-N. And I would like to share my opinion about the school. I feel like the 2.0 GPA should be dropped as some kids are not graduating because their GPA is lower than 2.0. And to add, most schools usually don't go with the 2.0 GPA. They like drop it down lower. And yeah, I feel like the GPA should be dropped.
Okay, Any further group orders? Nobody on Zoom? Okay, move on to item 7, public comment hearing of visitors for topics on the agenda. Are there any group orders for comments on the agenda? No group orders. Any Zoom speakers? Okay, moving on then to item 8, so 8.1, presentation to the second term report of year projects.
Good evening, Superintendent Thompson and trustees. Annette Hellman. I am your Chief Business Officer. So it is teed up.
It's up there.
All right. So this item is the presentation of our second interim financial update. On the board is the code that tells us what to do, what we need to do, when we need to do it by, and the method by which we need to do it. I'm not going to read it for you, but this explains the first and the second interim report financials that are required to be done by school agencies like us. So we are progressing through that budget cycle for fiscal year 22-23. As you can see, we are now in the second interim phase of our financial update. That covers your finances from the beginning of the fiscal year, which is July 1st, through the end of January. So everything that has happened since, and every update that we've heard from the January governor's proposal, and every adjustment that we had to make in our own budgetary structure, like our estimates, vacancies, all of those things were reviewed and adjusted as needed, and that's what culminates the financials that are presented to you this evening. Our next major update, which actually would be the last major update for the fiscal year that we're in, would be the estimated actual. Those would be the last opportunity that we have to adjust or update our 22-23 financials. Okay, so the big news, as I mentioned, this report includes the January proposal by the governor. The big news, of course, is the COLA. In previous updates, the Budget Act actually had that for 23-24 as 5.38%, I believe. So it's higher than what was originally estimated. So, and of course, we are told that at this point in time, although it's too early, they are anticipating 3.54% for the following year. So just to give you an idea of what the current chatter is with regards to 23-24, when I shared the January governor's budget update to you all, we mentioned that the governor was not dipping into the reserves. However, he is pulling together different resources to fund the COLA. Now, part of those different resources actually comes in the form of one-time dollars. So the latest that we are hearing is, according to the Department of Finance, if the governor backs out the one-time sources to fund this, the COLA that actually can be afforded by the state is somewhere around 6.4 to 6.5%. So let's see what happens when the revise comes. But these are the numbers that we heard as of the January proposal. So of course, our numbers are only as good as the assumptions that we utilize. And these are the state planning factors that we use with regards to calculating the different revenues that we receive from the state. And again, there's the COLA, the 8.13 for the coming budget year. And we still get a few state funded sources. Most of them were folded into the LCFF, but we do get some of them, your lottery, your mandated lot grants. So those are the numbers that we are told to use. We also are told to use what kind of employer increase or employer rate increases to use for the two pension benefits that we have, which of course are STRS and FERS. As you can see on the board, STRS remains flat, but there is a nominal increase for the FERS side of things. So the previous slide are the state level factors. This slide is our own local internal factors. Normally, this would only include 3 columns, but we thought to add how we got to where we are now in terms of the different numbers, like our enrollment, for example. So taking the first line of enrollment, we adopted our budget with anticipating 10,141 students, which is about 300 fewer than prior year. And by that, we mean the CBES or the CalPAS number. Fast forward to where we are now, that number is actually 10,228. So that's better than projection. It's 87 higher than projection, but it's still a decline compared to where we were, actuals to actuals, which is 214 lower. Now, we still declined, but when we look at the last 5 years, our decline was actually much larger than that. On average, we were declining about 280 from year to year. So 214 is still a drop, but it's an improvement compared to how we used to drop in the last recent years. We're still, we're anticipating that our enrollment would be back to normal the way that it has been, which is about 95 to 95.5%. So these are the numbers that we are using for the out years. So when we put all of those different numbers together, we come up with a number that says, here is your LCFF revenues. And you see that in the last line. That's what we are anticipating in 22-23. That's our updated revenue. So because of the 3 prior year rolling average for ADA, good for us actually, that doesn't have a lot of impact in this budget year on that, even though at first interim was a different enrollment number. And at second interim, it's a more updated CalPAS report. It's actually a big drop, but because of the 3 prior year rolling average, we're not affected as much as we used to be prior to when the provision of the 3 prior year average was put in place. So on this, I want to call your attention to the supplemental portion of our LCFF. As I indicate in my executive summary, that actually plays a big role when we do our engagement process and our community engagement and outreach with regards to our LCAP process, which is facilitated by Mr. Fasani. And another thing that I want to call your attention to, because it's new to all of us, fairly new, is the add-on for TK. If you recall, this initiative by the governor, the way that he is funding is a rebenching of Proposition 98, and therefore there's that line that we see. We're estimating about $629,000 to fund that program. Now, the initial plan that the district has on this, of course, it was an initial plan. If we were to serve all of the population that would be eligible, would be about 1 million. So if that came to fruition, we would be short by about 300,000 or over 300,000. So it's still kind of early in the process, but right now we do know that we are getting an estimate of $629,000 to fund that program. So whenever we do our financial updates, like I said, there are adjustments to revenues, whether it's a state driven update or a local driven update. And then there are adjustments to our expenditures. I know I've used this as an example before. When you have vacancies in the system and as you progress through the year and you haven't filled those vacancies, there are savings. On the other hand, if there are other adjustments in the expenditure area, all of those have a direct impact to our net position or our ending balance. This actually lowers our ending balance compared to the last report. And as you can see, if you look at towards the middle of the table, it's called indirect costs. It's a drop by about 945,000. That really plays a big role in that decrease in our net position. What that does is we are allowed to charge an indirect cost to, I'm going to use the word categorical programs because that's what most folks are familiar with. These are your restricted programs. Whenever we charge that indirect, it helps negate our expenses in the unrestricted side. Well, we happen to have 2 one-time dollars that are spendable in the next 3 to 5 years, which of course are your Learning Recovery Block Grant. I know it has a really longer name. I just don't remember the rest of it. Learning Recovery Block Grant, and the Arts and Music Block Grant. Because those are planned to be spent not in the same year, they're actually moved to the ending balance, meaning we're not allowed to charge indirect until we actually spend them. And it's just really a change in number. Because of that adjustment, we're also losing some of that indirect charges. So nothing to be too concerned about. It's really a function, mostly a function of the indirect charge. So we are required by AB 1200 to always put together a budget year +2, and this shows what we would look like in the coming 2 years. 22-23 is our budget year, therefore the +2 would be 23-24 and 24-25. When we present the adopted budget to you, now we're shifting 1 more year. We would be showing to you the budget for 25-26. So for now, we are in budget year 22-23, and this is what our multi-year projection looks like. This is the combined, meaning combining your unrestricted and restricted. Importantly, we also want to look at what the unrestricted side of things look like. We have a good ending balance because of all the one-time dollars. We're also projecting a deficit spending. It's kind of hard not to have that when you're dealing with one-time dollars in certain years. We do anticipate that to be lower by the time we close the books, because again, we're going to be looking at 3 to 4 months worth of adjustments by then. So that concludes my meeting, my presentation. I think I wanted to highlight the COLA, the enrollment, all of those major highlights in terms of what drives these numbers. So we're waiting for the governor's May revision. Again, by that time, we could have some changes in the current fiscal year numbers, as well as, of course, moving forward to 23-24 and 24-25. Are there any questions?
Okay, I'll open it up to the board if they have any questions. No questions from the board. Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Okay, moving on to 8.2, presentation of equity, access, and achievement. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, President Ishihara, members of the board, Superintendent Thompson, staff, and community. My name is Dr. Nobles. I'm the coordinator of Equity, Access, and Achievement. I have representing the Tulsa team for the Equity, Access, and Achievement Office, Catherine Hendon. She's not going to talk today, but she's here for moral support and in case there's any questions that she can help answer. We're excited to present to you today our mid-year report, especially since this is a new position to our district, and we've been working pretty hard. So I'm going to talk about our status report. Our purpose today is to communicate the mission, strategic goal, and some improvement goals, to assess achievements to date, to determine what changes and actions will continue and why, to be clear on how we will know if a change or action led to improvement, and to be sure that equity-driven improvement each day. So I know you all are familiar with the mission and strategic goal number 1, and we also have a goal within the Equity, Access, and Achievement Office. Our goal is to improve relationships in the district in order to work together to provide equitable opportunities for all students and to be sure that equity-driven improvement each day. So we'll start talking about money. So here are some of the budgets that help to fund the work we're doing. Looking at the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, Ethnic Studies Model Curriculum Funding, A to G Block Grant, a new anti-bias grant, and EFFA funding. This is really clear that New Haven has a strong commitment to equity work in our district. We're looking at about $4 million. So it's really clear that the commitment is here to doing equity work. Some of our commitments to improvement. We are affirming student identities while creating spaces of dignity, belonging, and mutual respect. We've moved from eliminating hate, which is what we started our school year off, to belonging and dignity. We're doing extensive work with John Cronapple and Floyd. I forgot his last name. to support, Dignity Consulting, with the school district, to promote to promote an idea of cultivating belonging and dignity throughout the district. We've also launched the Promise 54 plan in alignment with the anti-bias grant, and there's been a lot of equity task force work. We've also been creating and delivering workshops on anti-bias, socially relevant teaching, and working with healing practices to repair harm in the district. We've also been working to mentor, support, and train the 13 teachers on special assignment. We've been working to guide and support MTSS and UDL at the sites. We've been supporting schools to have internal walkthroughs. We have created an abundance of equity resources, which will be loaded to our website. And as we proceed through the document, you'll see a lot of links that you can peruse at your leisure, which will help you to refer to some of the things that we're talking about. We've also been aligning some of the equity cornerstones, such as the policy, the council priorities, the equity walkthrough tool, and the equity report card. And also on Fridays, I work at Logan to help establish a sense of belonging for our African American students as a part of the Black Wellness Initiative. Also, as a coordinator with the TOFA team, we're working with the school community to share the reports that we have, developing growth mindset workshops, also nonviolent communication. And soon we'll be recruiting at each school equity leaders to participate in the anti-bias grant. And we have also started to build a relationship with the Union City Equity Council there. And finally, on this page, we're working also to finalize the equity plan for the district moving forward. So some changes and actions and improvement metrics. We believe these are the following actions and changes that will make a difference and help us reach our goals and our mission. Having consistent check-in with principals and teachers to gauge stress levels and needs. Our teachers on special assignment are sitting in on grade level meetings. Acknowledging past harms and spending time and effort necessary to repair past harms, engaging in regular showings of appreciation for staff, using the SIPSA to develop site-specific diversity, equity, and inclusion goals and metrics, facilitating capacity building and professional development sessions to address some of these goals, creating space and structures for staff to communicate concerns, questions, and challenges related to diversity, equity, and inclusion work. Developing a consistent mechanism to include all staff voice in decision-making. We're working on district-wide systematic, collaborative, professional development for classified as certificated. Looking at ways of collaboration with HR to have diversity, equity, and inclusion screening as a part of the interview process, and pre-employment professional development as a part of employee onboarding. We're also working to develop clear accountability processes when staff engage in harmful behavior and provide students with the tools to communicate with their harm done. Lots of words today, folks. Let's talk about Promise 54. So I think we have pretty familiar with Promise 54 and some of the work that we've been doing. Since August, we've been in collaboration with Promise 54. They completed an equity audit analysis that started in August with interviews of district officials, an in-depth artifact review, a survey analysis of over 500 respondents, and focus groups with 27 staff members across the district. In collaboration with the Equity Access and Achievement Office, we've created working definitions and a belief statement to support the work that we're doing in the district that we expect members of the New Haven Unified Community to ascribe to. As promised and on time, Promise 54 handed off that plan in December. That's going to support and guide our work for the next 3 to 5 years. And if we do that with love, courage, and focus on staying the course, we will make systematic collective change that you will see make a significant difference in outcomes for the students and community of the city and beyond. I'm going to show you some of the Promise 54 results. Here are the high-level bright spots. There's an indicator here in New Haven of a strong culture and connectedness. Staff share a strong sense of loyalty to New Haven Unified. And of course, there's a direct investment to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion. We saw that in the funding that we have at our hands to do this work. Some of the areas of opportunity, staff perceive New Haven's commitment at surface level and desire to see longer term work and investments. And I think that's just a little bit of a mismatch with the actual financial investment that we're making, the human resources that we're putting into it as well. So part of the work we're trying to do is to clear up some of these areas of opportunity so everyone's on the same page. In addition to that, many staff experience career advancement opportunities as inequitable and unclear. Staff perceive decision-making to be top-down and they desire a greater responsiveness to the needs and realities of on-the-ground staff. There have been past experiences, challenges, and harms from prior DEI work that has made it challenging for staff to fully engage and trust in future DEI efforts. And I think we understand that, and part of the work we've been doing is really trying to massage people's feelings about doing this work and be very clear and transparent in the steps that we are taking. The next slide, here are the 6 priority areas from Promise 54. The link, I'm not clicking on the links, they're there for your future reference. These are the 6 areas that Promise 54 gave us as the priority areas to work on: communication and connection, DEI capacity building, DEI strategy, inclusive decision-making and feedback, resources for staff for support, and talent systems and structures. So what we're doing right now is aligning these with the equity plan, and you will see that as we continue towards the end of the year. And this slide, you have a link to the diversity, equity, inclusion, anti-racist statements, belief statements, and definitions. I'll give you a chance to look at those. They're all linked here. And here's another area, next slide, that I'm really excited about. In September 2022, we applied for the California State Department Anti-Bias Grant. We received notice of receiving the grant in December. The grant is to help improve practices in New Haven by providing a financial incentive for staff to participate in and create communities of practice in which we focus on professional development around topics of hate, bigotry, racism, or any form of bias and prejudice. And just briefly, this is what the anti-bias grant looks like. The details are linked there. We have a $200,000 grant. Each school will engage between 2 and 6 educators. Looking over the 3 years, we'll be providing 42 hours of collaboration and reflection education. At each site, we will form a cohort where each school has a community of practice that may include observing each other, practice, modeling, or team teaching. And through the combination and centralizing these practices, this will have a common understanding of culturally responsive practices, bias mitigation and prevention, and we'll also be developing a list of protocols and collaboration for equity. Next is an area that I'm really excited about to talk about, and it's really kind of dear to my heart. I'm excited to share the way these individuals have come together to work and really build a solid team. The TOSA team we have given ourselves a nickname. We are the Hermosas. Hermosa is our private, so you can't tell anybody this, okay? It's our private loving name for each other. Hermosa meaning beautiful. It's our way to connect and remind each other the beauty and importance of this work, of this equity work. So we fondly call ourselves the TOSA Hermosas. And here are some of our accomplishments. There are individual sites, pictures and actual information linked there for each school site. We've been doing weekly professional development and planning. I call that the TOSA Tuesday. We've been doing TOSA Team Equity Walks. We've been at all the schools listed there. We've been calibrating and digitizing the educational walkthrough. We've been looking at the areas that need some alignment between the equity policy, equity council priorities, like equity council meetings, the equity walkthrough tool, the equity report card. between, Camila Green from the, HR department and I, we've done principal and AP training on how to have difficult conversations. We've been working with Kitayama on anti-bias training. We've done multiple workshops that have been created and delivered to different school sites. We've established Eliminating Hate Library, which is linked there. We've created belonging and dignity resources, which are also linked there. We've moved from eliminating hate to belonging and dignity. Super excited, and I'm giving all of you a homework assignment on your way home to click on the New Haven Equity podcast, where we've been talking really about different episodes dealing with anti-bias, with culturally responsive teaching. So I hope you all get a chance to listen in. We've also supported the MTSS and Universal Design for Learning at the school sites. Some other accomplishments, we've worked with the COST meetings at the school sites. We've been doing classroom presentations for social emotional learning, meeting with students independently and in groups for social emotional support, sort of pushing into the classrooms as well. We've been planning and implementing SEL lessons in classrooms for behavior support. We've done assemblies on Character Strong. We just received a scholarship from Character Strong to send about 10 members of the district community from six of my COSAs, and they're also in collaboration with Abigail and Marcus at the Family Center, coming together to do Character Strong professional development. Most of my team has a room at each site where students feel comfortable going in. Some of them are a little better than others as far as having a wellness space. But we're working on making sure students and teachers have a place to go. And also we're doing a lot of work in restorative justice and a lot of substitute teaching. So although I asked for the Tuesday TOSA Day to be special and kind of held sacred, we also know that there's a substitute shortage, and our TOSAs are ready and willing and able to help support staff. To help staff classrooms with the substitute shortage. Finally, this is another exciting part of our journey. One of the things that I really believe in about equity work is that the journey should be shared. We should be doing this as a global cooperative. Excuse me. So, some of the work we've been doing also around professional development and conferences. I'm taking the AXA Academy for Equity Administrators with other equity administrators through Northern California. Myself, Fatima Al-Shusta, and Catherine Hendon sitting behind me, we attended the AXA Equity Leadership Conference in November. Last month in February, myself and Nahida Rose did a presentation to the Bay Area AXA Equity Symposium in February. We did two presentations, one on difficult conversations and one on belonging and dignity as a precursor to academic achievement. And then next week, yay, we're presenting to the California African American California Association for African American Superintendents and Administrators, where myself, Mr. Guzman, who is one of our TOSAs, Dr. Thompson and Scott Pisani are also attending and presenting from eliminating hate to belonging and dignity, and just kind of talking about the journey here at New Haven. A lot of words. Any questions?
Any questions? Oh, yes, Trustee Connor.
I don't know if you want to speak, but no, I was gonna bring that up too. It seems that the presentation in the agenda is not the same one that you are working on.
Can you, I don't know.
So if someone can update that.
Yeah, just update it on the board.
I wish to do that.
Yeah, I dropped it in there a few minutes ago before we started, so that's my bad. I just wanted to make sure it was there, but we'll definitely get you the link. I want you all to do some homework and listen to the podcast, but I think they've done a really good job. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. We'll get that link to you. And actually, if you go to Spotify, look up New Haven Equity Podcast, is there too.
Okay. Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes, so, you did an amazing job, a great presentation, engaged, it was good. As a fifth grade teacher myself, I was looking at the Eliminate Hate Library there. The links are not live. Also, if we can do that, I wanted to,
We'll do that.
yeah. use some of those resources.
Sure, sure, we'll definitely go live. So apologies for that.
Vice President, come on.
Thank you for the presentation and thank you for all the great work you're doing. We can see the passion when you speak, so thank you and thanks to your staff. So as a parent in New Haven Unified, I do see all the work our teachers and staff members are doing for equity and it's really amazing. But interestingly, when you look at grade schools, and sadly, that is, one of the resources that the community goes to when they're making a decision about schools. Our schools are rated below average for equity, which is surprising, honestly, to me. So IBC is 4, CCMS is 3, Logan is at a 4. I was just curious, do you have any insight into why this is? Because what I see as a parent is just incredible work we're doing with equity.
I think there's a possibility of alignment between the California Healthy Kids Survey and that data, and I'm not sure how they're aligned or not. Also, the position is a coordinator position, right? What we've been doing is bringing in all the work. We've been really, having met with so many different people through conferences, and Haven has really been at the forefront of leading equity work. So I think there's a bit of a disconnect between what you're reading and what's actually going on, one. And I also think that some of the coordination that has been happening this year, that should change. Because I think we've been doing all this work here and here and here, and now everything is coming together. I think in a very nice way, especially with the podcast, and be able to really start sharing publicly some of the work that we're doing and really getting information out there. I think also communicating the work that we're doing. I'm glad you have seen some of the effects of the office. I think also there's so much more to do and so many ways to get it and share it. So I think that will probably change, and maybe in 2 years, we're going to have this conversation and check in to see if we're still there, because I expect it to be some work.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Sean Mallory.
First of all, thank you for your presentation and all of your hard work, and thanks to Tosa or Musa, your team. And this is live streamed on YouTube, so it's not now. I really appreciate it. I was very glad to see our equity report card. I know this is a position in our district. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this ramps up. And I don't know if you have kind of a vision for what that's gonna look like that you can distill into a quick answer, but because it feels like this just did our equity report card. Now we're looking at all this work that you've been doing, and which is amazing work. And then, just seeing how this can ramp up so that we get to where we want to be.
So one thing I keep reminding people is that equity work is dismantling systems that have been in place for over 400 years. So we have like a chisel, and we're trying to break those walls down, so it's a lot. But one of the things that I can say we're working on is looking at how are we working with teachers, how are we working with principals, and then how are we working with students. So what we're doing right now is planning monthly training in equity with workshops for at the leadership academies, looking at growth mindset, looking at nonviolent communication, looking at culturally relevant pedagogy, looking at data, how to analyze data. We're talking about having cycles of inquiry around data, and not just academic data, but also data around the feelings that people are getting around doing this work. And I think that approaching it in that three-pronged way, where we're looking at schools, the teachers, the principals, teachers, and students, and the community at large, I think it's kind of like my vision, making sure we're targeting, all of the different partners in education and really changing the hearts and minds of people who what equity work is about. So making sure we're giving a little bit of love to all of these different partners. I think the best way I can answer that now, especially with that chisel.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments here? Trustee Rebecca.
So, thanks so much. All the work that you've been doing, and I attended one of your equity, events. It was, I was really impressed by the enthusiasm the children had. They had a lot of questions and they were suggesting stuff is out of this world, like the laugh that the children had, the thing that they were sharing, it's really amazing. Thank you so much for bringing it to our children.
Thank you. I think you're talking about the Pioneer students. They are amazing. So shout out to Pioneer. They're really rocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to item 9.1, which will be a board resolution update, specifically on Black History. Black History.
Give a little overview of that. I just kicked myself out of board docs. So I can get a second to get back. Well, I'm waiting here. So what, as you know, we have our, a variety of resolutions throughout the year, and for month-long resolutions, we provide, here we go, supplementary materials for teachers to use in the classroom. And we ask when it's possible for them to share the projects that they're doing and pictures of the projects, as you know. So even though Black History Month has only been open for 7 days, we have some samples of the types of things that have been going on in our classrooms. And John or Frank or somebody back there, people before them, they can just go through the whole working. If they're working on that. You can certainly open the item yourself and take a look if you want. Oh. I had access and now I don't have access. Just to get the murder, so. We may have to come back to this one. Why don't we do, items from the board superintendent and come back to that if we're okay with that?
Are there any objectives from the board? Okay. Why don't we go ahead and come back to this? So items from the board. All right, who would like to start? Okay. Trustee Griffin.
First of all, I want to say, it's good to be back. I took a few weeks off, even from school, because I was sick and it was terrible. That wasn't too bad. COVID was worse. But, anyway, finals went well. Finals, it was pretty chill for the most part, when, especially with my classes, there was only a few things, the students had to do. And you can done it over in like 30 minutes. There's also on Friday, which was at the end, very last day, there was a barbecue, so we had nachos, and after I got mine, it was like gone in the place of an eye. The equity mural is doing just fine. We are soon to start drawing, and it's gonna take a lot of paint, but we're getting into the process of securing our board for where we're gonna put it. We have to find where we're gonna, but that's it for that. But, Black History Month was good. There are things that I've learned and others that I didn't, like Harriet Tubman was disabled with a form of epilepsy. And I learned recently-ish that she rescued more slaves as a general than she did in the Underground Railroad. I thought that was pretty cool. And a man named George Crumb created the potato chips. That's very specific, but he created the potato chips.
Trustee Khan.
So there's nothing new for clothing, as of like what I mentioned last meeting, but basically we're prepping for big events end of March and beginning of April. So we have to give performances starting the week of March 27th. It's where each class gets their day to perform their skit during lunch. So if you or anyone watching this is interested, we would love for you to come join us at our skit night rally on March 31st from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And it will probably be in the pavilion, where we'll have all the classes break down their skits. We're also just getting the word out for Powder Puff and prom, so Powder Puff. The Powder Puff game, if you didn't know, is where junior and senior females play football against each other, and then the boys do cheerleading. So that will take place on April 21st at 6:30, so that's the Friday before the New Haven Day, which we're also very excited for. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Schwann.
I'll go ahead. There's been a lot since last meeting. So I was honored to attend, the celebration of life for a recently passed Supervisor Richard Wright on the 25th. It was a very beautiful event, and I never thought I would attend a memorial bouncy houses, but I now have done that. And it just showed, his love for his community, and that he wanted us to all celebrate his life and not to be sad. So there was a little sadness there, but we mostly it was really a great time and a great way for the community to come together, and I really appreciated it. I have the privilege in the past week of going to Delane Easton Elementary School on the day that Delane Easton visited the school for Read Across America to read to the children, and it was really fun watching the kids line up to shake her hand and get her autograph. And she really was received very well. And then the next day I went and read to one of the classrooms there. And then today I went to Hillview Crest Elementary School and did a sidewalk with Dr. Thompson and the principal, and had a great time making flowers in the kindergarten class and learning about ratio tables in the fifth grade class, and just seeing all the work that's been done on that campus, you know, the repair work, and looking forward to the other things that we're looking at doing at Hillview Crest to make it even better than it already is. And I have a coffee with your school board trustee this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Starbucks on Mission in Tamarack, where you can come hang out with me, have some free coffee, and talk about our schools. So anyone is welcome. That's it.
Okay. Trustee Repeat.
Thank you. So I'd like to echo what trustee Schwab about attending Richard Wright's memorial. It was very touching, and it was it was a good time. So met a lot of people, and the second thing that I did this time was AAUW's event, which is American Association of University Women. It was done at CPNL. And it was very well attended. A lot of like moms and daughters were there, and they had a lot of activities like coding for girls and like a lot of STEM stuff. And the children were really enjoying it. And the third thing that I was reading at Eastern Elementary. It was a great experience. I've been doing it for about 3 years. And I went and saw the Eastern, I've been Eastern Law for quite a while, so was tempted to go and check out the orchestra room, and found there's a moms there, and they recognized it. Oh my, and they called me Hamza, which is my son's name. They know Shamsa, that's my son. So it was interesting. So it's great experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Gonzalez.
I have 2 items to talk about. Number one is the old Starbucks that was right next to the Round Table Pizza by the Safeway. It was closed. Has been closed for a while. And Suju's is going to be replacing coming into there, and my sister raised her kids out in Fremont, and that's where the Suju's, if you ever been to the coffee shop there. You've been in there, very productive, a lot of college students, high school students. great coffee, some of the best pastries, but the owner, hired, my niece who has special needs, and so, and the reason why I bring this up is, my father likes to hang out there, takes his tablet and, read the paper on his, tablet. And, since the Star Wars closed there, he's been looking for a place, to hang out. And so they told the owner, he said, hey, you need to come to Union City. And, he said, I've been trying to get in there. And then, so my father took it upon himself and to, rattle some cages, knock on some doors, and, because my father, though, there's that the Sujos is there. And before Richard Valle, passed away, as my dad's high school friend, he went to help my dad get that Sujos, to help get the owner in there. But that's the last thing my dad and Richard Valle did was to get the Sujos in there. And so I bring this up, tonight. How does it relate to schools? It's because the owner is looking for, some Conley High School students or some Logan High School students, if you can bring that back and let them know that they're hiring. They open up April 1st is their first, that Saturday, so get down there. This could be really great for well, anybody in this area right here, Logan, you guys are gonna be so close to have that Sujus. We need more places that are safe. Productive places you can do your homework, hang out too. So that is great news for us. The other thing I want to mention is, and I'm gonna keep talking about my family because, how many times do you have my 8th grade nephew? It is wonderful that they opened up another a sport. And so they have this flag football going on, and this Thursday, Cesar Chavez Middle School is in the championship, 8th graders, and they'll be playing at Chabot. It's at 7 p.m. It's $5 this Thursday. They won the semifinals against IBMS, and my sister described it. I want to say it was last week when they were playing, but she said, out of nowhere, this kid, and it was raining, came out of nowhere and just came out of nowhere, jumped out and grabbed the football and ran it back, intercepted and ran it back for a touchdown. And that student was my nephew. So I got to give a shout out to my nephew. How many times, does that happen? And so, just go out there and support. Our middle school, and so the league is opening up. It's no longer, back in my day, it was 3 middle schools. Bernard White, Alvarado at the time, and New Haven at the time, but now they have we have a lot more. San Leandro, Newark, I want to say Castro Valley, but there's a bunch of in our league now. There's a lot more competition, and we are down to the finals that happen Thursday. So those are my 2 items I wanted to discuss. So thank you.
Okay, Vice President.
Thank you. I have a couple items I'd like to share. So one is I also got to attend Read Across America at Easton. What a great way to celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday. It was a lot of fun. I got to read to a class, but that was not my favorite part. They had these student council members who received us at the office, and they were ambassadors, and they walked us over. Dr. Thompson knows this too. They walked us over and we made conversation. What are your hobbies? And it was really, really nice. So I wanted to give a shout out to Easton for having such a robust student council program. And I also wanted to thank Laura Cox, who's the leader specialist, for inviting us. 2 is, as a teacher, anytime I see innovative teaching methods, I get really excited. And I got to see one today, and I wanted to share that. So the 8th graders at IVCMS did a project-based learning assignment today, where they get to present an amendment to our Constitution. So this is their pitch for what could be the 28th Amendment. And it was really cool. So I got to be on the panel. So we have a panel of people from the community who are basically, it's a mock panel of senators, and you get to say yay or nay. And they did such a great job. It was really hard to say nay. They were well researched, they had evidence to back up, whatever they wanted to amend. It was a great experience. So they do have a few sessions on Thursday, and if, anyone would like to attend, it was a great experience. So I wanted to share that, and I wanted to give a shout out to the 8th grade core teachers, so Paula Andrews, Eileen Tuckagan, Chris Bermudez, Sabrina Albright, Nancy Stone. Thank you so much for making learning fun.
Okay.
All right, a couple of things. New Haven Day, April 22nd. We have, I'll keep promoting it every chance I get. But right now, Mr. Patani has worked with our performing arts teachers and band and choral teachers, you name it, and to schedule 42 different performances on that day, starting at 10 a.m. through 4 p.m. And I think we have close to 20 community partners that are going to be there with us as well. It's going to be a good day. Food truck mafia is coming. I had a 5K fun run in the morning put on by the school foundation. So mark that date, April 22nd. And then I'll also give a brief update and more good news on our Narcan update, and it's the battle against opiates. So we have, by the end of this month, we will have all of the people who are interested in being trained at our middle and high school trained on Narcan implementation. So we have it there, the training's underway and will be completed soon, which is great. And then looking ahead to next year, we're figuring out how we could make sure that we have at all of our elementary schools somebody there that can have Narcan, just in case we've heard of accidental overdoses when kids find stuff in the playgrounds or whatever. So we want to make sure we're ready for that too. So that is really good news that way as well. And that is it.
Okay, thank you. So I just have a couple things. I also was at Richard Advice Memorial Service. I think I saw just about everybody there. We just, the entire board was there in the same place to actually get a picture together, but I think we were all individually there, so it's good to see everybody there. I also read to the Easton students for Reading Across America. I read A Place Where Sunflowers Grow, which is an illustrated storybook near and dear to my heart. It's about a student's experience during the Japanese internment. And I read that to the grade class. I also was greeted by some awesome ambassadors. I wasn't quite prepared to have a conversation during the walk, but it was nice. I'll be at a couple open houses. I'll be at HBC on March 15th, and I will be at Cesar Chavez. I think most of us will be at Cesar Chavez on 4/20. And then UC Family Center 10-year celebration on May 4th. That's it for me. Okay, moving on to a report for the Budget and Finance Committee, item 10.1.
We're going to go back to this slide.
That's right, thanks for the reminder. 9.1.
All right, well, we have, thank you. And so, Frank, do you have others that, or, oh, that's okay. We can just help. Sorry. Okay, with that. Thank you. All right, so again, Black History Month just finished, and we're already on. We have Women's History Month underway now. So we have representative activities and from a few of our schools. CCHS, for example, if you click on this link, it takes you to a variety of the different lessons that were taught at CCHS during this month. Pretty cool. We could spend a fair amount of time going through it, but I encourage you to do that on your own. Moving. Pioneer, as you know, they're known for their podcasts, and so if you click on the link in the Pioneer circle there, it'll take you to the podcast they created for Black History Month as well. Moving forward, Cyril has a presentation. In this case, you're seeing Coach Pioneer who was going in and providing a lesson on some historical Black figures and some, I think actually. They had some reference to Logan, former Logan athletes as well there. So that was another fun activity. There were many, many more, but again, these are just the schools that have reported to date so far, and we didn't want to wait. We wanted to share them with you. If you want to see the resources that we provide centrally as supplemental resources for teachers to use, they get to use what they do want to use and don't want to use. You can click on this and that will take you to see the different resources that are available for our teachers. Okay.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? All right. Oh, Yes, all right, so with that, now we will move to item 10.1, which is the report from the Budget and Finance Committee. Justin, you're the host.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and we talked about the renaming of the well, just a couple of highlights on there. We talked about the renaming of the Budget and Finance Committee, a change to Finance, Technology and Facilities Committee. We spent the bulk of our time talking about AT&T wanting to lease a spot for a cell tower. And just concerns, we had environmental concerns, and we didn't it was just a discussion. There was no action on this at this time right now, but it's not the EPA that doesn't regulate that. It's the CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, Public Works Project, who oversees that, and so we're just concerned about that. The cell tower, how does that impact our community? And we also wanted more information on actually informing the community about this happening and giving some surveying the community, see how they feel about this. We talked about the transportation survey that went out last Friday. And the data we're collecting on that for the transportation, and then we also went over in more depth with the budget that was presented by Ms. Hillman tonight. Is there anything else that we missed?
All right. Great. Thank you. Well, moving on to item 10.2, report out from the Communication and Advocacy Committee.
Well, we did not have a meeting between last board meeting and today. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday this week, which is the 9th of March. So we'll report back after that.
Okay, great, thank you. Moving on to 10.3, report out from the Policy Review Committee.
We did not have a meeting since our last board meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 31st.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Mallory. 10.4, other committee reports. Okay, we'll start off with Trustee Mallory.
Mine's really quick for the Alameda County School Board Association and AXPA. Our next meeting will be our first in-person meeting since before the pandemic. Thursday, March 30th, 2023, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Alameda County Office of Education on West Clinton Avenue in Hayward. And our guest speaker will be Elise Castro, our County Board of Education Superintendent.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Rivera, did you have anything?
We will have a meeting with Missionary Weekly. The first one now will be on the 9th, on this coming Thursday. And Selco will be 14 next Thursday. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, did you want to handle the foundation? All right. No, you're the short for that.
All right, so lots of fun things happening at New Haven Schools Foundation. The poster contest for Earth Day is now open, and it's for students, NHUSC students, grades K through 8. We also have our 5K fun run coming up, like Dr. Johnson shared. This will be on New Haven Day, which is April 22nd. Information for both of these are on the New Haven School Foundation website. We have received applications for grants from teachers, so we're excited about that. May 17th is going to be our scholarship awards event, and it's going to be actually at the Open School Building. So we're excited about that too.
Okay, I will report out on the joint NHUSD School Board and City of Union City Council Subcommittee. We discussed 3 large topics. The first was the home to school transportation options work stream. We also talked a little bit about New Haven Day, as well as the land exchange agreement between the city and the joint use agreement. So with the home to school option work stream, So our CBO, Ms. Helman, provided the city with the same context that she gave the board in our last meeting regarding the legislation, the process, and program parameters. Together, everybody collaboratively brainstormed solutions for how best to use the state funding within the laws and parameters in the spirit of the law. And we might have a line on a solution that could augment existing service without too much disruption to operations. Their staff typically revisits timetables in the August, September timeframe. And so our staff is going to be delivering to their staff a few things. One specifically is the travel times between the bus stop and the front of the school, because they want to make sure that they've had that time in correctly. Also, the bell schedules for all the schools. We're also going to be providing timetables and maps and routes from our old fully comprehensive transportation system. Just as an idea so they can visualize the way the system used to be. So I think we're making a lot of progress on there. And so tonight you'll see that there is on action an action to approve the plan that we'll be submitting. And we had a great conversation that helped lead up to lead into that. Okay, so on the land exchange agreement and the joint use agreement, we went back and forth and we highlighted 3 or 4 things that we're waiting on the city for, and we've asked that those dependencies get resolved well in advance of our 4/18 meeting. We have a meeting on April 18th. So that's what we are collaborating very well on. And so we're in the home stretch of that. It's been probably 10 years in the making, but we're finally going to, put that final nail into it. Okay, that concludes the report for the NHUSD School Board and City of Union City Council Subcommittee. Okay. Any questions? All right. Great. Moving on to 11.1. May I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 0372223, Transgender Day of Visibility?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so during discussion, I would love it if Trustee O'Malley would read the resolution.
Thank you very much. Resolution number 037-2223. Transgender Day Visibility, March 31st, 2023. Whereas 1 million Americans are transgender and have overcome significant hardships to build vibrant and thriving communities, often in the face of systemic and interpersonal prejudice, discrimination, and violence. And whereas transgender is an umbrella term which encompasses all people who are intersex, gender expansive, agender, differently gendered, gender creative, gender variant, gender queer, non-binary, gender fluid, gender neutral, bigender, androgynous, gender nonconforming, gender diverse, or anyone else who does not identify with the sex they were assigned at birth. And whereas we cannot simply celebrate visibility without also recognizing that it does not always equal justice. Still, far too many trans people, particularly trans women of color, continue to face profound threats to their safety, lives, and well-being. And whereas we also celebrate the beauty and resilience of trans people throughout history and of those who are with us today, and we recognize that trans people have contributed and continue to contribute in myriad ways to the betterment of our society and our school district, often working at the forefront of social justice activism and human rights work. And whereas trans people, and in particular, trans women of color, including Sylvia Rivera, Donna Persona, Ms. Major, and Marsha P. Johnson, were instrumental in the creation of the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement in the United States, from the 1966 Compton Cafeteria riot in San Francisco to the Stonewall riots in 1969, to the creation of radical new civil rights organizations. And whereas trans and gender nonconforming Americans have made profound strides in challenging social and political norms that had forced many to live in secrecy regarding their gender identity, sentenced them to coercive medical and psychological treatments, and denied them employment and housing opportunities. And whereas civil rights victories won by trans activists have expanded judicial recognition of constitutional protections for gender identity and expression, and provided a greater number of people with the basic protections needed to ensure human dignity and self-determination. However, these rights are still not universally guaranteed, with laws varying by state and locality and regressive measures still being pursued. And whereas, as a result of determined activism and advocacy, trans people now serve as religious and educational leaders, reach the highest levels of athletic competition, star in film and television, and serve in prominent government positions, beginning to reverse many years of tragic exclusion. And whereas we celebrate the work that is being done by trans advocacy groups to continue to fight for dignity and equal rights for members of the trans community, to build inclusive and healing spaces, and to protect and defend those who are most vulnerable, including people with disabilities and those in prison. Now therefore be resolved that the New Haven Unified School District will commemorate Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st, 2023, and fly the transgender pride flag at all district sites during the week of March 27th through the 31st, 2023. Passed and adopted by the following, call vote the 7th day of March, 2023.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, a second on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay, may I have a motion in a second to approve resolution 036-222-3, particular kinds of services, AS layoff.
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, roll call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 11.3. May I have a motion and a second to approve the non-employment of probationary certificated employees?
So moved. I second.
Roll call, please. Oh, sorry, discussion. Roll call, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 11.4. May I have a motion and a second to approve the non-reemployment of temporary employees?
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion. Roll call, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 11.5. May I have a motion and a second to approve the 22-23 second interim budget and update multi-year production projections for 23-24 and 24-25?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstention. Motion passes. Okay, 11.6. May I have a motion and a second to approve the district's home to school transportation plan for school year 23-24?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, abstentions. All right, motion passes. Okay, 11.7. May I have a motion and a second to approve the new course at James Logan High School beginning in fall of 2023, welding and metal joinery?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items in the consent agenda, consent agenda that people would like to hold for separate vote? Okay, with that, I'll entertain, I'm asking for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 12.1 through 12.28.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we want to skip 13 because nothing was removed from consent. Moving on to 14. Assessment of governance procedures and protocols. Yes, trustee.
Yeah, I was wondering, where the labor partners report on the agenda, that should be, even if,
Is that every
It's,
meeting?
it's my fault, I didn't catch it. So Joe, I apologize, I just sit down here, I sent you a text, I feel so bad, it's hasn't been normalized, my fault. I reviewed the agenda and I missed it, so I owe you one.
I'm gonna ask the same question.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, anything else? All right, moving on to board consensus, so 15.1 board trustee requests. Okay, trustee Gonzalez.
how about, we are, able to request a, pay increase,
Mhm.
annually, and, I would like to request a pay increase.
I think we can get that on the agenda. It's certainly within our policy, within the law, so I think we'll get that on the agenda for officially. Yeah, really? Nope, usually don't. Okay. All right, any other board member requests? Okay,
Actually, I have a request.
yes,
When we were talking about our diversity, equity, inclusion work, and there's been some workshops and training, I would like to look into the board receiving same training
oh. Yeah,
As-
totally,
as a professional development opportunity for all of us.
sure.
Yeah, I'll see what we can find, that'd be great.
Thank you.
All right. Looking for more, looks like the popcorn has stopped popping. So with that, we'll move on to 16 and then adjourn this meeting to other business. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, sir. You got something to say?